Conservative Party is heading into the election with a new leader. That man is Doug Ford, and he joins me now from our Toronto studio. Good morning, Mr. Ford.
Good morning, Robin. How are you? You can call me Doug.
Okay, thanks very much. Are you Ontario's version of Donald Trump?
No, I guess the media wants to always pump that up, but that's the only person I've heard. I've talked to tens of thousands of people. That's never come up, but let's talk about that for a minute, Robin. Look at what's happening south of the border. We have trillions of dollars going into that country because they dropped the tax rate from 36%, one of the highest in the world, down to 21%. Unemployment's the lowest in 20 years. Manufacturing jobs are coming back. Now let's look at Ontario. Ontario, we're being taxed to death, have the highest hydro rates in North America. We have this nasty carbon tax. We have some of the highest property taxes, some of the highest water rates. We have more red tape and bureaucracy we've ever seen. How do you expect to create jobs?
So you admire Donald Trump then?
Well, I can't say if I admire him, don't admire him. I don't know why the media loves this Donald Trump scenario. It's Doug Ford.
Well,
the Ford family's been in politics for 30 years, well before Donald Trump, ever existed. So, no, I'm Doug Ford. We're going to turn this province around. I'm focused on Kathleen Wynne. I don't give two hoots about Donald Trump. I'm focused on Ontario.
Okay, let's get into the actual details of your platform. You claim that you can cut the waste without costing a single job. How are you going to do that?
Very simple. I did it down at the City of Toronto. I'm going to do it in Ontario. We're going to find efficiencies. We're going to drive efficiencies through lean systems, best practices, and technology.
Well, how?
Very simple. You haven't done it. I've done it. That's the difference. Next question.
Well, I'm looking for some concrete examples of how you will find those efficiencies and how much they will save.
Very simple. We'll get into the weeds for a little bit with you here, Robin. I know you've never done purchasing. I've done it on a multi-million-dollar business on both sides of the border. We're going to start sharing synergies on procurement on every single ministry. I don't care if it's foolscap or pencils. We're going to start doing joint purchasing. We're going to start driving lean systems within the healthcare system. I have some of the best doctors in the entire world on my team that feel we can deliver services, reduce wait times, making sure that patients are seen a lot quicker, and I have all the confidence in the world with them. We're going to make sure that we reduce taxes on businesses, on people, until we start driving the economy, putting money back into the people's pocket instead of the government's pocket. They'll start stimulating the economy. Therefore, more revenues will go up to the provincial coffers as well.
The economist Mike Moffat calculated that a PC government would have to cut about 40,000 public service jobs. If you plan to balance the budget without the revenue from a carbon tax, so would you be cutting public service jobs?
No, not at all. So it's funny, Robin. I got to ask you this question. Do you think there's not 4 cents on the dollar of savings in the bloated government of Ontario?
Well, if you're not cutting public service jobs, where are you cutting them?
No. I just asked you a simple question.
Well, with all due respect, I'm doing the interview with you.
I know, and I'm answering your question. Can you find 4 cents in the government? Matter of fact, let me answer that for you, Robin, since you aren't able to. I crisscrossed this province from one end of the province to the other, and there isn't one town, not one city I went into, packed houses, saying only 4 cents. They broke out laughing. There's not a person on this planet that can tell me there isn't 4 cent savings of inefficiencies, of bloated bureaucracy that we can't find in the government of Ontario. And just watch me do it.
Okay, so I guess what I'm looking at is I'm hearing you say all of this, and it will resonate with some people. I know that you've had loud cheers at your rallies before when you say this, but I'm actually looking for details on how you are going to do this. If you're not cutting public service jobs, where are you going to cut specifically?
Well, I don't believe in the word cuts. I believe in the word efficiencies. We drive efficiencies in the private sector, and we're going to start driving efficiencies in the public sector as well. Robin, I'll give you one example. For these credits that we send $469 million over to California, 90% of the population of Ontario doesn't know we're sending $469 million of the hard-earned tax dollars to California. We're sending some to Quebec as well. That's done. We're keeping that $469 million, putting back into healthcare, back into infrastructure, into education. We're going to start driving this province forward. We're going to make sure we're open for business. We've lost 300,000 manufacturing jobs under the Wynne Liberals. But that's unacceptable.
The revenue from the carbon tax, it's crucial to the rest of the PC platform.
It's, something that's only crucial based if you want to make it crucial. It's, as far as I'm concerned, it's a job killer. It's an absolutely terrible, terrible tax. And it doesn't, it puts us at an unfair playing field when you're running a company, you're trying to compete against other jurisdictions in the world that don't have a carbon tax. And it all does is drive up cost of all goods. So it's hurting everyone in Canada. It's a terrible tax. I had a good conversation with my friend Jason Kenney. He feels it's a terrible tax. Premier Mo thinks it's a terrible tax.
Right.
So I guess all three of us are going to be wrong, and Justin Trudeau is going to be right.
Well, given you say that it is unacceptable to put a price on carbon, what measures are you going to put in place to deal with the issue of climate change?
Well, to be fair, Robin, I've been in the leader for about 50 hours so far, maybe a little longer. We're going to make sure that we come up with something that is very environmental friendly. Let me tell you what I do. I ran a company. We're a very environmentally friendly company, and I'm proud of that. I didn't.
Running
I did
a
that
company
by
is different from running a province.
Well, you got to let me finish first. I did that by investing into environmental technology. People don't want to be punished because of this carbon tax, and they're just putting the word carbon in front of a tax. It's pretty simple. There's other ways out there of being environmentally friendly. That's my point. And every single company I've ever visited is focused on making sure they have technology that's environmentally friendly, just like we did in our company.
Do you believe in climate change?
Sure, I do. I'm not a denier at all, Robin. But can I tell you something? Mm-hmm. I've knocked on tens of thousands of doors, unlike yourself. You talk to a lot of people, and not one single person in over the thousands of doors and crisscrossing this province once came up to me and said, Doug, I'm worried about the environment. Do you know what they said? Doug, I can't pay my hydro bill. Right. I have a choice between heating and eating. People are saying, I can't afford these taxes. People are telling me they want a job. Those are the priorities. Where, the environment's very important. I know maybe it might be at the top of your list, but it's ironic that I crisscross talking to Liberals, NDP, Green people, and that's not their priority. A job is their priority right now.
Well, can I ask you, I will ask you about jobs in a moment, but will you commit to a CO2 reduction target? Well,
we'll sit down with our team, and we're going to do everything we can to be environmentally friendly.
Well, what does that mean exactly?
Robin, I don't know why you're stuck on this one. We're facing $311 billion of debt, most indebted region in the entire world. We're paying $12 billion in interest. Our province is a disaster, Robin. It's a financial disaster, and our focus is to create jobs, lower taxes, get this economy going.
Well, I suppose the reason why I'm asking is because I'm trying to get some details of your platform. I mean, we just had somebody on in the last half hour, a strategist from Blue Sky, admittedly a Liberal strategist, but she said you were a bumper sticker, basically, that there are no real plans. So that's what I'm trying to drill into. So I want to move on, and I want to talk about something else, which is a social issue.
Blue Sky's the bumper. I love people like that.
You have said that you recently that you plan to repeal Ontario's sex ed curriculum. In the past, you have talked about reviewing it. So which one is it? Is it repealing or reviewing?
Well, it's going to be very simple. We're going to repeal it. This is a issue. It was really about respecting parents. And the parents weren't consulted, and they should have been.
Well, the parents were consulted. There are 4,000 parents given the opportunity to provide input.
They deserve to be respected, Robin, and they need to be consulted. Teachers need to be consulted, and again, on what happens to our own kids is our business. It's not about the liberal ideology that's being breathed down our back from Kathleen Wynne. It's up to the parents. It's not up to the liberal ideology and that's been breathing down our back.
The facts are that in 2007, the government consulted with parents, students, teachers, faculties of education, universities and colleges. The physical education curriculum is the most consulted on curriculum in Ontario history.
Yeah, well, I'll have to disagree because I've crisscrossed this province. I haven't found one parent that was consulted. Matter of fact, I didn't find one single parent in Kathleen Wynne's riding that was consulted. She avoided the parents in the riding, and I talked to him personally. She had numerous requests to come by and speak to him, and they refused it. But I got an idea. Why don't we talk about important things about the economies?
We'll get there. We'll get there. But I just want to get a specific example of something that is in the curriculum that you think should not be there. Something that you say is based on ideology rather than facts.
Well, again, Robin, I'm going to go out and we're to consult with the
say is based on ideology rather than facts.
Well, again, Robin, I'm going to go out and we're going to consult with the parents, and we're going to consult with more teachers. And the teachers I've talked to said they weren't consulted at all. So we'll stick with that, and then I'm sure we'll have a very good sex ed curriculum moving forward.
Okay, let's talk about jobs, because you've promised to freeze Ontario's minimum wage at $14 an hour. But would you roll back on the hike to minimum wage?
No, I wouldn't.
Well, this is a big part of Kathleen Wynn's plan. So what do you like about that?
Well, it's not that I like it, because I don't believe in laying, 60,000 people have been laid off so far, and I think that's going to be a low figure. That's going to continue going. And when I talk to people, what they're saying very simply, Doug, I'd rather have a job than no job at all. But in saying that, the only people making extra money, Robin, is the government. When you go from 11 and change up to $14, the government's gouging you. So there's a little bit of hypocrisy there. What I plan on doing, anyone making $30,000 or less is going to pay 0% tax. They're going to have $160 extra in their pocket every month.
Well, how is that better than raising the minimum wage?
How is it better, Robin? So when you raise the minimum wage from $11.50 to $14, which I'm keeping it at $14, you're paying more tax. Can we agree with that at least?
Well,
can we agree that you're paying more tax the more you make?
Oh, well, that was my question to you. You answered it, so that's fine.
I'm going to reduce taxes, and I'm going to put $160 into the pockets of the most vulnerable people in this province.
What are your plans for regulation and enforcement of marijuana when it becomes legal?
Well, this is a new avenue that we're going down a path that no one really knows right now. We're going to sit down with the caucus, and I've always been open to a fair market. I let the market dictate. I don't like government controlling anything.
Oh, so does that mean that you would privatize pot stores?
Well, let's take a look at it. Again, we're going to come up with a pretty good policy on that, and we're going to see.
You are a fan of small business. That's why I asked you the question.
I'm open to a free market, and I'm going to consult with our caucus, and we'll be able to come up with a very strong game plan.
So free market meaning that it would not be government run?
Well, I don't believe in the government sticking their hands in our lives all the time. I just don't believe it. I believe in letting the market dictate.
Do you believe that people of this province want to reopen debates around abortion?
No, something, it was one of your got you moments. CBC, of course, came up and asked me again if I believe children 12, 13, 14, 15 years old should have operation without the parents' consent. I'm not going to open up the abortion debate. It's a federal issue. They asked me a question, I answered it. And I could run away like most politicians do. But every parent that I've ever asked, would you allow your children to get their tonsils out without you knowing? Would you allow them to get their appendix out? Would you allow them to go on a school trip without a permission slip? And every single parent I asked, they said absolutely not. Absolutely
you equate
not.
Tonsils to abortion?
No. What my point is, would you let your child have an operation without your consent? Do you have a child, Robin?
I have two.
Okay, so if they went in and they had an operation and didn't tell you, you'd be okay with your 13-year-old son or daughter having an operation, a 14-year-old, a 15-year-old? Well, in my opinion, I'm not okay with it. And I'm not going to open up the abortion issue. It's a federal issue. And again, Robin, you're asking me all these questions it's funny you ask me all these questions that I've never heard at the door. And I've hit more doors than anyone out there.
But people aren't asking you about minimum wage. They're not asking you about marijuana legalization. They're not asking you about jobs.
Well, you haven't asked me about the jobs. And as a matter of fact, I think in 10,000 people, I think I've...
Well, I have. I've asked you whether you're going to cut public service jobs, and you said no.
No, absolutely
right? And
not.
so I said, where are you going to cut then? You're saying that we
you
can
like
make
the
all
word
these
cut.
cuts.
We drive efficiencies. Cuts is not in my vocabulary. Maybe it's in yours, but it's not in mine.
Right. Okay. When are we going to see your platform? Are we going to see it before the election? Because your advisor has said that we're going to see a shorter and clearer PC platform.
That's right. Our platform is going to be pretty clear. It's not going to be the People's Magazine version of 80-some-odd pages.
But that's what your caucus got around the People's Guarantee. So isn't that a slap in the face to your caucus?
Well, it's not a slap in my face to the caucus, and we're going to move forward on a shorter or abbreviated form of our platform, and I look forward to sending it out.
What is something that's going to be new in there?
Well, why don't you stay tuned, Robin, and we'll talk about that when I put it out.
The reason I'm asking you this is because this is your opportunity to tell our listeners what your actual plans are, and instead of attacking Kathleen Wynne, because I don't think a lot of people would say that will actually solve any of Ontario's problems.
Yeah, well, what I'm going to do, I can promise the taxpayers this. Anyone earning minimum wage, you're paying 0% tax if you make $30,000 or less. What I'm telling the people, I'm going to get rid of this nasty carbon tax and make sure we're competitive when we compete. We're going to make sure that you don't have this burden of this tax.
Right, but you haven't said what you're going to replace it with.
Robin, we're going to start creating jobs. I'm going to cut this regulations and red tape and bureaucracy that it takes to open businesses. I'm going to make sure that we lower taxes and put money back in your pocket. We're going to make sure that we get rid of the Green Energy Act, which is just a big scam in my opinion. We're going to make sure we aren't subsidizing wood turbines. We're going to put money back into your pocket. I said we're going to stop the $469 million going into California, where it should be going into the taxpayer's pocket. So those are some of the things that I'm going to look at.
But you will have cap and trade imposed on you. So
I know, and you know something, it's going to be imposed on myself and our province, along with every single person in this country. It's a terrible, terrible situation we're in when we're talking about giving $469 million over to California and Quebec. You got to be kidding. That's our hard-earned tax dollars. Every single person I've talked to, Robin, in Ontario, they don't want their money going to California. They want it staying in Ontario. They want to create jobs. Our province is in a financial mess with $311 billion of debt, $12 billion servicing that debt. That's what I'm focused on. You may be focused on other areas, Robin. I'm focused on creating jobs and opening this province up for business.
Final question to you, Mr. Ford. In 2013, the Globe and Mail ran an article that stated you sold hashish in Etobicoke in the 1980s, and you threatened to sue them at the time.
Yeah,
if these allegations are untrue, why haven't you taken legal action against the Globe to clear your name?
Well, you know something, Robin, it's funny. You want to hash up something, excuse the pun, by the way, bring this up, something in high school that is absolutely false, that I'm going to waste my time going up against the richest man in one of the richest people in the entire world to wear me down and spend millions of dollars. I'm sorry. You know something? You can dig stuff up 40 years ago, which is absolutely false, which is absolutely 100% false.
But it has to do with trust, doesn't it? I mean, for instance, you initially denied that your brother Rob used illegal drugs, and specifically crack cocaine.
I was in the understanding that Rob never did drugs in front of me, Robin, and I appreciate you bringing his name up because he was one of the best civil servants there ever was. But I appreciate this.
The main point is, I understand that you think that I am attacking you, but the main point is...
of course, I would never think you're attacking me, Robin. Neither would your listeners.
How can people trust you? How can people trust you?
You know why they can trust me, Robin? Because I have a proven track record. I served the people for 4 years. I donated my salary, Robin, unlike any other politician in the entire country, to a lot of areas that people need that money. I have a proven track record of saving $1 billion for the taxpayers of Toronto. I'm going to save billions of dollars for the people of Ontario. Okay. Robin, we may disagree, but with you or without you, Robin, we're moving this province forward. We're going to create jobs. We'll make this the most prosperous region in the entire country to do business in.
Doug Ford, thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Robin.
That's Doug Ford. He is the leader of the Ontario